You come home exhausted, pick up your cat, and shower it with kisses, thinking its head, turning, and paw, pushing are just signs of a proud, aloof personality. Stop. That's not a tantrum, it's a silent cry for help. Your affection is being perceived by your cat as chaos and a threat. 6 everyday habits are eroding your bond, and the most damaging one is something you've definitely done in the past 24 hours. Let's start with the first thing you might do every day. That's unknowingly stripping your cat of its sense of security, interrupting its sleep. We've all felt this urge. You're sitting on the couch watching television when you glance over and see your cat sleeping on its back, its soft belly rising and falling with each breath, occasionally making a soft smacking sound. It looks just like a fluffy angel who's landed on Earth. Your inner cuteness radar goes off the charts, and you feel like it would be a crime not to pet that fluffy head, so you reach out and give it a good rub. It jerks its eyes open, pupils contracting slightly, glances at you, then shifts position and closes its eyes again. You think this is completely harmless, right? It was just woken up by you for a moment and fell right back asleep. But inside the cat's body, what just happened was like a minor earthquake. Cats are top predators, but they're also small prey. This dual identity means their nervous systems are always in a delicate balance. Cats need a lot of sleep every day, not just to recover their energy, but because it's the only way their brains can defragment and reset their neurotransmitters. Imagine, you're in the middle of a critical computer system upgrade when someone suddenly yanks the power cord. That's exactly what happens in its brain when you wake it up. When you touch it while it's in deep sleep, you're essentially forcing its fight, or flight response to activate. Its adrenaline spikes instantly, even if it just looks like it's lazily shifting positions. When you do this repeatedly and unpredictably, the message you're sending is crystal clear. Falling asleep near me means being under constant threat. I'm not trustworthy. Gradually, their brain will form a new conditioned reflex. They'll stop choosing the cushion next to your lap. Instead, they'll start seeking out high places out of your reach, or the guest room you rarely visit. The highest form of trust is showing vulnerability in your presence. If it chooses to close its eyes near you, it is awarding you a medal of honor. Please keep your hands to yourself. Let it wake up naturally. When it yawns, stretches, and walks toward you on its own, rubbing its head against your wrist, then respond to it. You must become the safe haven in its mind, not the unpredictable factor that could set off its alarm at any moment. Next, we'll discuss the biological crisis in the sensory world, neglecting litter box maintenance. Work is exhausting, and life is hectic. Sometimes when you see a few clumps in the litter box, you might make a mental compromise. It's just one day without scooping. He's not usually picky, and I'll definitely clean it thoroughly tomorrow morning. You assume the litter box is merely a toilet, and that cleaning it a little later will have no real consequences beyond a slight odor. Applying human logic to the litter box is the biggest mistake you can make. For cats, elimination isn't a simple physiological process. It's a high-stakes survival test. In their genetic memory of the wild, excrement acts as a radioactive marker that reveals their location. To survive, they must bury their scent completely, preventing any large predators from tracking them down. Let's use an analogy. Imagine you're trapped in a post-apocalyptic world overrun by zombies. In your only shelter, there's an alarm that constantly emits a scent. Attracting zombies, you need to bury this alarm daily with special soil just to get a good night's sleep. But now the soil is gone, and the alarm is completely exposed. This is exactly how your cat feels when faced with a litter box that hasn't been cleaned in time. Its sense of smell is more than 10 times stronger than a human's, and its unique vomeronasal organ amplifies the threat of every ammonia molecule in the air. When it walks into a saturated litter box and realizes that, no matter how much it digs, it can't cover up that smell, what it experiences isn't disgust. It's sheer survival panic. This intense panic demands an outlet. So, it begins to relieve itself on your new wool rug, or leave its mark in the corner of your bedroom. This isn't revenge. It isn't throwing a tantrum. It's desperately searching for an alternative where it feels safe, a place where it can truly bury its tracks. You are the creator of this enclosed environment. When you allow its territory to become dangerous, your image in its mind becomes inextricably linked to danger. Make no more excuses. Clean the litter box at least once a day, and thoroughly change the litter and disinfect it once a week. This takes only 3 minutes of your life, but it's a pledge to your cat in a language it understands. Don't be afraid. I've eliminated all threats. It's safe here. If upon hearing this, you suddenly realize that your cat's seemingly disruptive behavior has actually been a desperate attempt to communicate with you, if you realize you've unwittingly betrayed its trust, please take a second to click the like button below and subscribe to this channel. We're here not to judge you, but to help owners who truly treat their cats as family learn to love them in their own language. Your subscription proves that you are a good owner willing to keep evolving for your cat's sake. Welcome to our community. It's not just the litter box. What's even more alarming is that many people are turning themselves into their cats, living prey with their own hands, by using them to play with their cats. When they're just a few weeks old, nothing is more soothing than teasing them with your fingers. Those tiny teeth biting your fingertip feel like a gentle massage. You watch as it clumsily wraps its paws around your wrist and kicks wildly with its hind legs, finding the whole thing utterly adorable. Even as it grows up, you sometimes still habitually tease it with your hand, watching it instantly switch into hunting mode. You think you're just playing with it, but in reality, you're performing an extremely dangerous low-level code hack on its brain. Cats are born assassins. When it sees your rapidly moving finger, its brain doesn't recognize it as its owner's limb. Instead, it directly triggers an ancient and powerful hunting sequence: stare, stalk, pounce, and strike. Every time you play with it using your hands, you're etching a deep impression into its neural circuits. Human skin equals prey. As it grows, its bite force increases, and its claws become as sharp as boning knives. One day, as you're calmly walking down the hallway, it suddenly darts out from behind the sofa, biting down hard on your ankle, or leaving deep, bloody gashes on the back of your hand. You'll scream in pain, perhaps even angrily slap its head and yell at it for becoming so aggressive. But is that fair to it? It's as if you've handed it a loaded gun, told it to shoot whenever it sees a target, and then punished it harshly the moment it pulls the trigger. This creates massive cognitive dissonance in the cat's mind. It cannot understand why the prey it was allowed to tear apart yesterday has turned into a terrifying source of punishment today. This contradiction will make it deeply wary of all your physical movements. Immediately and completely stop using any part of your body as a toy. Introduce feather wands, long string toys, anything that creates a physical distance between its hunting instincts and your flesh. Your hands should only be used to provide food, gentle strokes, and support. It must understand that these hands are the safest haven in the world and will never provoke its hunting instincts. Beyond interactive missteps, another form of harm lies in your silent dismantling of its spatial map, changing the environment without warning. Humans love novelty. You think rearranging your home can lift your spirits. During a weekend deep clean, you enthusiastically move the living room sofa to the opposite side, reposition the television stand, and even replace the cat's old scratching post with a larger, fancier one, throwing the old one away without a second thought. But you soon discover that not only does the cat show no gratitude for the new scratching post, but it also starts walking along the walls, hiding under the bed all day, and even begins excessive grooming. You think it's being overly sensitive, wondering, isn't it just a matter of moving the sofa? To address this issue, we need to introduce a crucial scientific perspective. Veterinary behaviorists at the Feline Health and Aging Clinic at the University of Liverpool conducted a groundbreaking study. They discovered that cats construct their mental map of the environment, not by relying on visual cues like humans do, but through a three-dimensional matrix of scents and safety anchors. When your cat rubs its cheeks against the corners of the sofa or the legs of the table every day, it's not just scratching an itch, it's applying its facial pheromones. These invisible scent markers form a psychological safety net within this space. Researchers at the University of Liverpool, using EEG and cortisol level monitoring, discovered that when furniture in a cat's core territory is moved drastically and without warning, the neurological panic they experience is identical to their reaction when suddenly encountering a highly aggressive stray cat invading their territory in the wild. You think you're just moving furniture. Number, in your cat's perceptual world, you've just triggered a silent nuclear blast, instantly erasing all its scent markers and destroying its carefully calculated escape routes and vantage points. Its world, once a clear navigation map, has now turned into a fog-shrouded minefield. Until it reestablishes these scent coordinates, every step it takes in this home subjects it to immense mental anguish. Cats are creatures with an intense need for a sense of control. If you must rearrange the room or introduce large new pieces of furniture, employ a strategy of gradual restructuring. Don't change everything all at once. If you've bought a new cat bed or rug, place it next to the old one first. Let the old scent and the new item coexist for a few days, giving your cat time to actively explore and mark the area with its own pheromones. Give it time to map out the new territory on its own. Equally devastating is a forced social nuclear explosion, the abrupt introduction of a new family member. When you bring your new boyfriend, girlfriend, or second adopted puppy home, you excitedly pull your cat out from under the bed where it's hiding, shove it straight into your guest's arms, and say with a smile, "Look, this is my little darling. It's super well behaved." You naively assume that simply by placing two living creatures in the same space and conveying the message that they're good friends, they'll instantly get the hint and get along peacefully. When your cat arches its back in fear, hisses, and struggles to break free, you might even feel like it's embarrassing you in front of your guest. Forget those Disney movies where animals become instant best friends. As solitary small-scale predators, cats simply don't have making friends in their survival playbook. In their wild logic, any unknown creature that suddenly appears in their territory has only two possible roles, either a competitor coming to steal food or a predator coming to eat them. For cats, the cost of physical conflict is extremely high. Even an infection from a minor scratch can mean death in the wild. When you forcibly pick up a cat and shove it into the arms of a stranger or another animal whose scent it has never smelled and whose threat level it has never assessed, you are not only cutting off its escape route, you are also personally shattering its trust in you as its protector. Imagine this psychological metaphor. You are led into a sealed basement by your most trusted friend. Inside stands a masked, burly stranger. You're terrified and want to back away, but your friend grabs you tightly, pushes you toward the stranger, and says, "Don't be afraid, he's a good person, go give him a kiss." The fear, despair, and sense of betrayal you feel in that moment are exactly what your cat feels when you force it into social situations. In its cognitive system, the conclusion it reaches isn't that this stranger is safe, but rather that my owner doesn't care about my well-being at all. My owner is blind and can't see the deadly threat. A cat's social rule is, scent comes before sight, and sight comes before touch. When a new person arrives, give the cat the absolute right to retreat. Does it want to hide under the couch? Let it. Does it want to stay in the bedroom for 3 days? Let it. Don't drag it out. Let it gather information from a safe distance first, through scents wafting through the air and the faint sound of footsteps. When it feels it has enough information and confirms there's no threat, it will take the first step on its own. This trust, built by letting the cat control the pace, is truly unbreakable. Finally, remember at the very beginning of this video when I mentioned the most fatal mistake that nearly every cat owner makes every day. It's ignoring their silent cries for help, overlooking those subtle warning signs. You're watching television, and your cat is curled up by your legs. You're absent-mindedly petting it. You aren't looking at it, you're just enjoying that soft, furry sensation. You feel incredibly close to your cat in that moment. Suddenly, without warning, it turns and bites you, then bolts out of the room like an arrow from a bow. You clutch your injured hand, your face a mask of shock, thinking that cats are simply crazy, unpredictable creatures. It isn't unpredictable. It had been crying out for help for a full 2 minutes, but you were not only deaf to it, you were blind to it. This is one of the most heartbreaking misconceptions about feline behavior. Cats are incredibly stoic animals. as survival experts in the wild, showing pain, discomfort, or weakness is tantamount to sending an invitation to predators to come and eat them. Therefore, cats have evolved an extremely covert and subtle system of microexpressions. Neurobiologists and behavioral experts at the Royal Dick Veterinary College, at the University of Edinburgh, have conducted a highly insightful new study. They delved into the neural pathways of cats when subjected to sustained human petting. The study confirmed that many cats have a physiological threshold known as sensory overload. When this threshold is crossed, what was originally a comfortable stroke undergoes an instantaneous qualitative change within the cat's nervous system. Receptors at the base of the hair follicles send signals of extreme discomfort to the brain. At this point, your hand is no longer a gentle caress, but feels like sandpaper charged with static electricity, harshly rubbing against its skin. This has shifted from psychological irritation to genuine, physiological pain. Researchers at the University of Edinburgh point out that before biting, cats will issue at least 3 to 4 levels of visual warning signals. First, their pupils suddenly dilate and their eyes fixate intently on your hand. Second, their whiskers shift from a relaxed state to a taut, forward, pointing position, and their ears flatten against their heads, commonly known as airplane ears. Third, the skin on their back exhibits distinct, wave-like twitching, which is the result of neurons firing at an overload. Fourth, the tail whips the ground rapidly and forcefully, like a whip. When all this happens, your cat is screaming at the top of its lungs in the only language it possesses. "I can't take it anymore. Please stop. Let me go." And you stare at the screen, ignoring all its struggles, and keep rubbing your hand over its body. For a soul unable to speak human language, being systematically and continuously deprived of the right to express itself by the person it trusts most, is the deepest despair. If its gentle warnings never earn your respect, what choice does it have but to defend itself with teeth and claws? Trust isn't built on how many cans of food you buy for it. For a cat, trust hinges on an incredibly small detail. When I show you my limits, will you step back immediately? When you begin to read its body language, when you smile and withdraw your hand the moment its tail first taps the ground, the emotional power you convey to it is immeasurable. You're telling it, "I hear you. Your feelings matter to me." Raising a cat has never been an easy task. It's not like raising a dog, where you get immediate, enthusiastic, tail-wagging feedback. A cat's love is incredibly quiet. So quiet that if you don't listen carefully, you'd never know it's loving you with all its heart. We often judge them through the lens of human arrogance. We complain that they aren't affectionate enough, that they're too sensitive, that they always need space. But please try to see things from its perspective. It is a master assassin that has retained all its wild hunting instincts, yet willingly gives up its freedom to confine itself in this concrete box filled with your scent. Its body is only 1/10 the size of yours. Every move you make feels like an unpredictable giant, yet it still chooses to sit quietly by your bedside every morning before you wake, gazing at your profile. It doesn't need you to prove your love with suffocating hugs. It only hopes you'll understand it. Understand why it turns its back to the wall when eating. Understand why it needs a dark corner when it's afraid. Understand why a gentle nudge of its head against your knee is enough to pour out all its tenderness. When we stop judging cats by human standards, and when we begin to truly revere the ancient and mysterious soul within them, miracles will happen. You'll find that its once wary gaze has softened. It begins to approach you more often, and of its own accord. It no longer hides under the bed, but instead chooses the rug at your feet, exposing its defenseless, soft belly to you. This isn't because it has been tamed by you. It's because you've finally learned its language. With respect and restraint, you have built a safe haven for it, one that will never crumble. In this noisy world, there is a little wild creature that retains its untamed spirit, yet is willing to let down all its defenses and entrust its life to you. This trust is profound. Please accept it. Please cherish it, because you are its entire world.